Hey everyone, welcome back to Taking Back Monday. I am so excited that you decided to say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to a brand new future of work. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
Christelle Biiga.
and we are so excited to have a wonderful conversation today. So let's get right into it. What is your origin story?
Whew. I love that question because it takes me back to memories. As you can hear from my accent, I'm not originally from the United States. I'm originally from Cameroon. That's in Africa. For those who miss their geography lessons. Just kidding. So growing up, I used to wonder about strangers on the street, looking at them and wondering, is this person happy? And it was a question that was strange because I was just a little girl. And I remember asking, stopping myself and saying, hey, Christelle, why do you care? You don't even know them. But that question really never left me. And when I became a teenager, I started being influenced by Rihanna and other big names. And remember, my girlfriends and I used to change our hairstyle every time Rihanna would have a new hairstyle, the colors and everything. And at some point, I started thinking about it, paying attention to the type of influence that those people, celebrities, will have on people all around the world. They probably didn't know Cameroon existed, but they were influencing us. Speaking of Oprah as well. And sometimes I'll go to bed thinking about it and saying to myself, if only I had that level of visibility and influence, I could really help people be happier. And then again, my brain will step in and say, you're not a singer. So that you can't be Rihanna and you can't be the next Oprah either, even though I was doing some TV at the time. But I will go to sleep on that. And eventually I decided, you know what? There is a place somewhere they say everything is possible. And that place is the United States. So let's go there and try to make this happen. Let's try to reach the level of visibility that will allow us to help people be happier. So I decided to come to the United States, no family or friends, no speaking English at the time. And I was arrested at LAX upon arrival. An immigration officer tried to deport me because he said I was coming to work as a prostitute. I was put in a detention center for 9 months. And it wasn't a sentence. It was just the system, right? You go to court. I didn't have a lawyer. I had no family here. So no one could hire a lawyer for me. So every time I go to court, they would ask me, do you get a lawyer? I said, no. They say, you go look for one, a pro bono or whatever. So and then eventually 9 months, you are there. And finally, they allowed me to have my trial without a lawyer. And I won my case. I won my case, even though, I was so scared. I tried to go back for so long, so many times. It was traumatic. It's jail, really. So when I left that place, it was such a shameful experience. Even though I didn't do anything wrong, for me, I was in jail. No one needs to know this. So I got a job, funny enough, at the same airport, LAX. But I put it so back in my mind that I didn't want anybody to know about it. And when I started my coaching business in 2019, because coaching has helped me a lot during that healing process and, becoming stronger. And I thought this was a great way for me to help people be happier because remember, as a little girl, that was something that was healing my heart. So I thought coaching is a great way to do that. I decided to go full time in my coaching business at the end of 2019, right before the pandemic. And I quit my job, not because my boss was terrible. No, it was a great job, a great, future ahead actually. But I took the leap of faith because I came here to be visible and help people. So I said, okay, I found it coaching. And I said, how am I going to let people know that I can help? I thought about getting on podcast. Getting on podcast was the way that I found. I didn't know at the time how to find a podcast, how to get booked on podcast. People even told me, no one will want to have you on their podcast. You don't even have a website yet. But I decided to do it anyway. And when I started getting on podcasts, I was just sharing tips and tools that I learned in the coaching industry. And and the things that I use that have helped me, I was sharing it. And one day in the middle of the pandemic, it was actually the beginning, May, I was doing a podcast interview and they asked me the same question they just asked me. What is your origin story? And before I know it, I was sharing that story of me being arrested at LAX and put in jail for 9 months. And I used that opportunity to share a message of hope because we were going through a difficult time. The whole world was scared. just like I was scared when I was arrested. The whole world didn't know what was going to happen, what was coming next. Businesses were shutting down. Things were kind of crazy. So I used my story to tell people, yes, I went through crazy times as well. I went through challenging times and I made it through victorious. So you have what it takes. You can do it. And the feedback that I got from that interview blew my mind. I realized the power of podcasts. I realized that, oh my God, this is actually a way that I can use. This is actually a great way for anyone who want to help people, impact people in any way, shape, or form, help them. Because thousands of people heard that conversation. A few of them reached out to me, even years later, in my DMs on social media. They found me and they told me, I heard your story on so and so podcast, and it changed my life. And I didn't even remember the podcast we're talking about, but they remembered, right? So I saw the power of podcast guesting, right, to make a difference. And I kept using it and, learning what worked in the podcast guesting world and what didn't work, what shows actually helped me move the needle and what shows didn't. So 2 years ago, I was also again going through a difficult time in my life. Actually, I lost everything. Really, I was kicked out of my apartment, lost everything really. And I sat at the moment where I felt like I was ground zero again. And I had to start from somewhere. So I went inside myself and I remembered, I know what I can do that can help people and that can help me as well. I know how to get on podcasts, on the relevant one. And I can help other people because I know a lot of people have things to share, that expertise that can help people, and they don't have time to figure out how to get on podcasts. Maybe they are listening to podcasts, wondering how are those people even getting there? I would love to be there too and share, my experience, my expertise, my knowledge. So I started this agency, Exposure Maven, for me and for the other people out there who have a message, who have a story, who want to help, who want to make a difference, not only in their clients' lives, but in anyone's life that they can, share their message with. So that's how I started my agency. And today we do that. We book experts, people who have a story that they wrote in a book that they share as a technique or as a course, as a program in their coaching, or they are experts in any area, financing and everything. We book them on top rated podcasts because those have audiences and we want to make sure they reach people, thousands of them, and share their message and make a difference and help them be happy. It's a complete done for you because just like I had a call before this interview with someone who told me, I don't want to have time to research Facebook book groups and find shows and do all of that. I said, that's why we do it. We want to make sure we save you time. We save you the hassle. We don't want one more thing to do in your business. We do it all for you. You just go there and share your message. That's it.
I want to double click on the concept of like going on a podcast if you're interested, right?
Yeah.
I have a lot of people on my show who are not published authors, who have maybe never done a podcast before. They're just
Mm-hmm.
normal everyday people trying to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would encourage anyone listening, if you have an interest in going out and kind of sharing that story, because she's 100% right, your visibility, it's such a great way to get out there and to start flexing that muscle. It's the whole reason I started this podcast in the first place was I knew I had to get out there just like you, had to get out there and tell my story and share my story and build relationships. And also, I had this like pretty severe imposter syndrome. I think you mentioned it, like you said, "Oh, who are you to, go do
Yeah, we
this
don't
thing?"
have a website.
Right, you don't have a website, and I had this moment of like, "Well, who are you to make a podcast? Who's gonna wanna listen to you?" Right? But now I'm a year and a half in, I've got 90 something episodes. I have huge, lots of people who reach out to me, but in the beginning, it was really, really hard because I would watch those numbers of like my listens go like, "Wow, I got 2 today, maybe 3, maybe 10," right? But what I realized in the beginning, and I'm sure you've seen this as well, it doesn't necessarily matter how many listeners. I would have people reach out to me who I didn't even know were paying attention. And they would say, "Hey, your episode about, whatever we were talking about, I really needed to hear that today." And then those were the moments that made it all that much more exciting and interesting for me because it wasn't necessarily about like, I'm never going to be Joe Rogan, right? I'm never going to have these kinds of
You don't
numbers.
know that.
Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to speak it into existence. Someday I will reach that point. But it's okay to not have, those huge, insane numbers, because if you are reaching people and touching people one person at a time, that can be a huge difference maker in someone's life.
It is. It is. And really, sometimes we don't see ourselves. We don't give ourselves enough credit. I was onboarding one of my clients one time, and I was insisting because in her onboarding questionnaire, she didn't want to share her personal story. Her origin story was all professional, right? Where she learned the technique. She was an
Yep.
astrologer, where she learned the technique, how she got interested in astrology and all the things. Background was all professional. So I told her, listen, because I was also coaching her to prepare her before each interview. She asked for that extra support. So during our conversation, I told her, we don't know you. She said, nobody cares about me. They just care to know how I can help them. I say, yes,
Mm-hmm.
but who is helping them? They want to see you. They want to feel connected. They want to relate. They want to make sure that you understand them because maybe you have been where they are today. So that we understand them beyond the expertise. You have that human side of, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. And that's what podcasts, that's why that's what makes podcast guesting so powerful. Because actually you have time to share this kind of information. Because if I was writing a post on social media, I would have not have time. It would have been too long for me to say all of this, and nobody would have paid attention. Right? Nobody
Right.
has time for that. But on a podcast, you get a chance to actually show up and share your experience. And because you have that time to share those stories that you don't have time to put on your website or on your social media, now people have a chance to actually find value. Value because maybe they will not be able to afford your services, but your story, your journey will inspire them, will help them, and they will reach out. I told you people were reaching out years later for, I don't even remember the name of some shows. They will mention it. I heard you on so and so podcast, and it made such a difference in my life. And those moments, you can't trade them for anything. They are worth all the payments you can get from a client, all of it, right? It's worth it because you are making a difference.
Well, and like I think it can be a real differentiator, right? Because a lot of the time, especially in any kind of coaching or consulting, you are hiring not only for a service and what you can do for me, but also that we can work together and have a great relationship. So, from your origin story, I would make a few assumptions about you. I would assume that you are very brave, that you are competent, right, to pick up and move to the United States with no family, no friends, and not speaking the language, and then resilient to go through the situation that you went through with being detained and then finally winning your case and not having a lawyer and doing what it takes. I can tell that you're resourceful. So if those are traits that align with me and what I'm looking for, someone who's brave and confident and resilient and resourceful, a simple story just told me a lot about you and tells me what your values are and what your attributes are. And you're not going to get that from just being a professional one-sided robot, right? People want to work with people they like and that they
Mhm.
believe in.
Mhm. Exactly. And podcast is a great way to build that know like factor fast.
Yeah.
Because when you share your story now, some people listening to this might feel like they know me.
Yeah.
They know me because they know what I've been through. I shared it with them. So now they know something about me. So you have that. It's important when people are buying. They want to make to feel like they know you. That's why when someone refers you to a professional, you trust them because you know your friend, you know your colleague, you know the person who referred you. So with podcasts, right now we're having this conversation. Some of your listeners feel that they know me a little bit more. The way we mentioned the name at the beginning, they had no clue who I am.
Right.
And I could have come here and just say how professional I am with my podcast booking agency, how we're great at getting people on top rated podcasts. Yeah, but yeah, that's something they can read on my website, but
Yeah.
they don't
There's a
know me.
lot of people who make that promise, right?
Exactly.
But we're more likely to believe in you because we know that you found a way to get out of jail after 9 months. How can you not figure out how to get me on top podcast? That's
Mhm.
probably that's easy
Exactly.
compared to that situation.
And I figured out the way to get myself on podcast when people told me it's impossible. Actually, the person who told me that was a podcaster. We were in the same business pod. So she was a little bit like a friend. So I asked her for advice. Hey, I want to get on podcasts, start sharing about my business and everything. What advice will you give me? She would say, well, I don't think the podcast host will want to have you now. I mean, you don't even have a website. You have nothing to give. I mean, why would they want to have you? Right? But then I didn't listen to that voice and I did it anyway. So as you're saying, some people hearing this can see the traits of, someone being unstoppable, someone not, stopping at the first challenge or not believing that it's impossible. I mean, I always want to think there is a way. You will be seen. You mentioned that you will never be durable, and I ask you, why? How do you know that? You don't know that because my brain is just wired that way. I just believe there is a way. We just have to find it. There's nothing really impossible. We can't operate from that place because it limits us and stops us from moving forward. If you think it's impossible, we're not going to try. So if you're listening to this and you have always said, I wish I could have a conversation with Alyssa, but it's impossible. Who am I? I want you to shift that now. I hope my story is inspiring you to think that it's not impossible. You can. There is a way. I'm sure there is a way. You can reach out to Alyssa and she'll tell you what's the way.
Yeah.
There is always a way. So if you're listening and you have a story, you have an expertise, you have a message, you have a technique, you have something that can make a difference in people's lives, please don't think it's impossible to go on podcasts and don't wonder, who am I? Why would they want to interview me? Why would someone want to have listen to a podcast interview where I'm the guest? You'll be surprised.
I 100% agree with that. And like most of the time, the podcasters, we're just people. Like we're just people with microphones. That's all we are. So definitely, she's right. If you want to be on the podcast, reach out to me. Send me an email. I'd love to have you on the show. But Christelle, if someone is trying to muster up the courage to take a big step, whether it's to go on podcast, to go for a new job, to go out and do their own business, because I mean, you mentioned that you quit a full-time gig to do this full time. What is the first thing you would have them do in pursuit of whatever that dream is?
I would ask them first, to make sure that it's their dream. We live in a world where we are bombarded with information every second. And everything looks so shiny on social media, especially. Everybody makes things look so easy, so fun, so exciting. But
Right.
we are an entrepreneur. So it's not always that shiny and beautiful.
It never is. It never is. If it looks shiny, it's BS. We're just making it up to make ourselves feel better about the storm we're going through right now.
Yeah. So I would want to make sure it's their dream. It's not something that they got attracted to because someone made it look attractive. Because when you're coming from a place of knowing that this is my next step in life, you will be strong. When I was put in jail, I didn't have to stay there for 9 months. I could have just signed a deportation paper that very day, and I would have been sent back to my comfort zone, to my family and friends, and the people who didn't think I was a criminal, right? So, but I stayed. Why? Because I knew why I was coming. I knew why I was coming. I wasn't coming here just to check it out. I was coming here because I had a strong belief in my heart that if ever I want to make a difference at a global level, this is the place they told me anything is possible. So I'm coming here for that. So if you decide to take the leap of faith, I would ask you, is it something that is really for you? Is it something that is really in your heart? Or is it something that someone made you believe it's your next move? Once you have that certainty, I promise you with that certainty, some other people call it your why. But the why for me sometimes changes. But when you have certainty in your heart that this is my next move, you will face challenges and that light will keep you going. You will have the desire to give up. You will think like giving up. People even around you will ask you, what is wrong with you? Why don't you just go get a job? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? just like everyone is. Why are you putting yourself through this? If you are not strong in your standing, in your knowing that this is truly what I want to do, you will say, maybe they're right. Maybe I should just give it up and, move on and do something easier. So get strong on that, knowing that this is actually what I want to do. Maybe I want to quit this job. Maybe I want to change my business completely. Maybe I want to quit my business and go back, get a job. There is no shame in that either. But it has to be your decision. Because I promise you, the road is sometimes long and painful. So if it's something that someone made you do, you will not like that person very much. You will not. So you don't want to make someone responsible for your next step in life. Don't put that burden on anyone. Be responsible for yourself and own it. You will be able, even if it doesn't work out, you will be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, at least I give it. I'm proud of myself for trusting or believing that I could do this. And I tried.
I
So
really
that's my advice.
I really like that advice. It's not what I was expecting, because usually when I ask a question like that, I get like, well, make sure that you have a really clear plan and make sure I hear the understand your why a lot. That's basically everyone's go-to, like the Simon Sinek, like find your why. But you kind of took a really big different twist on that, because as you're talking, I'm sitting here thinking, would I go to jail for 9 months for my dream? Like, let's not, maybe we don't have to have everyone go that extreme, but like, you're
Exactly.
right. You could have just given up and said, you know what? Didn't work out. I guess I'll go. Right. And call it. But how many of us get excited about something because we see some social media influencer who's like, I'm having $10,000 days and I'm doing blah, 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 blah. And what they're not telling you is that they've been doing it for years and years. And like,
Uh-huh.
they have a trust fund. So who cares if they make money? Right. Like that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And a lot of us will start out on these things because we think it's our dream, but then we get to anything that's hard, any roadblock, right? I went through, I'll call it a phase of like hustle culture on TikTok, where it's like everybody has a side hustle and there's all these side hustles in like 2020. And all of a sudden I had all these side hustles. I did not enjoy any of them. But I was like, well, I got to do it. I got to do it because it's part of, what we're all doing these days. And then as soon as I came across, like, someone saw my TikTok, someone laughed at it, someone made an offhand joke about some video that I made, I gave up and I was like, forget it, I'm not doing this. And it was because it was clear it wasn't my dream. It was a little bit of shiny squirrel. Oh, that's exciting. This is interesting kind of concept. But also I felt like everyone else is doing it. So I got to figure it out too, even though I really truly had no love or desire to do that thing.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why it's so important. People have to pay attention because and so it's not easy either for people to really have that clear answer.
Yeah,
Why?
requires a lot of self-awareness.
Exactly, exactly. So you really need to have that connection with yourself to be able to know it for sure. Because sometimes we know things that we have been told. So we declare them. I know this, but do you? Or is someone telling you it's the truth? You mentioned they said on TikTok, everybody needs a side hustle. So for you, it was the truth.
Yeah.
So taking the time to sit back, even when you want to do something, sit back and take time with it. Sit with it. Really sit with it and ask, sometimes we think it's complicated to find answers, but just try to sit and ask that question to yourself. Is it from me or am I following someone else? Or am I, better yet, running away from something?
Yes.
Because sometimes we're running away from something, so we're grabbing anything that can save us from that thing we're trying to run away from. And you can have the answer right there and then, or you can have the answer doing your dishes. Doesn't matter. But I promise you the answer will come. It will. So just ask that question. If you have a goal now, if you're listening to this, you have something you want to do and you think you're fired up about it, just sit, chill, right? Relax, let the fire, cool down a little bit and ask that really honest question. And even if you feeling your body freaking out and thinking, oh my gosh, maybe don't worry about it. Just ask the question and let it go. You will wonder how the answer will come to you. And once you have the certainty, then move on, move ahead, do what you need to do. But I promise it will not be easy. but it's not a reason to give up. Sometimes those challenges are there to give you tools, more, because I promise you, if they told me, you are saying, you're sitting there thinking, if they asked me to spend 9 months in jail for my drug, will I do it? Nobody, if they asked me that before taking my flight from Cameroon, okay, you're going to the United States, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be arrested upon arrival, you'll be put in jail for 9 months, then you start doing your thing of being visible and whatever. I will say, no, thank you. I'm staying
Right.
right here.
Like, never
I
mind.
am
I don't
staying,
want this.
you know what I'm saying? I am staying right here. So we don't know how strong we are until we have to be strong.
Yeah.
We don't know how resilient we can be until we have to be resilient. We don't know, how far we can go until we start going. So don't hear us saying that being an entrepreneur is not easy or is not always fun and say, oh, you know what? I'm not doing that. No, just start. And you will discover things in you. Every challenge you will face will show you a part of yourself you didn't even know was there. You will be impressed. Entrepreneurship is probably the best personal development tool ever.
You find
You
out a
want to,
lot about yourself.
you will learn so much about yourself. Because I promise, you think before that, I can do this and this, you'll be surprised. So don't be afraid, right? It's not always fun. It's life. Life's not always fun. Life is not always rainbow. Sometimes it rains. Sometimes there's a tornado, but it's still beautiful, right? So if something you want to do, don't be afraid. Take the leap and be ready to face the challenges. But I'm just saying that you will be more resilient. You will have more courage to keep going if what path you are taking in the first place is the path that you truly want to take instead of following someone else's path.
So, considering all of the incredible people that you follow, that you know, that you aspire to know, who is leading the charge? Who is taking back Monday?
I would say Melanie Ann. She's a coach. I don't know if you have heard of her. And yeah, she's my relationship with her is really unique. I would say that like that. I've never really been in a coaching program with her, but I have done, workshops, masterminds, paid mini trainings. And I was led to her in a really strange way. I don't know if your listeners can hear creepy stories. It's not creepy, but
Let's
it's
hear it.
not,
Let's do it.
it's not creepy. But I mean, I was in a space in my life where I was asking a lot of questions. And one day, lying on my bed, someone had mentioned her name to me before, and I tried to watch her videos on Facebook. I didn't understand. I was confused about what she was saying. She talks about energetics and all the things, and I was confused. So I let it go. But that day, I heard in my heart, like a voice in my head saying, go check out Melanie Anley. So I grabbed my phone and I went, and sure enough, for the first time, whatever she was saying landed. And from that moment on, every time I would sometimes spend 9 months without seeing her appear on my feed, even a year, not even seeing her. But the moment I need to maybe take a short program with her, like a class, because as I say, I've never really been in a real program, but like a class, the post will show up on my feed and then I will know I need to attend. And every time it will blow my mind, I will have the most powerful shifts ever. So she's also for me, someone that shows me what's possible without me needing to copy her. I love that because I have been in a lot of coaching programs where sometimes coaches tell you what you need to do. They tell you this is what works. This is what you should do if you want it to work for you. This is what has worked for me. So I strongly suggest you do it. So with her, it's quite different. With her, is a journey of finding what works for me, a journey of knowing who I am in the first place and being strong in my decisions. And that has really been a game changer for me because it's easy to be a follower these days on social media. So easy.
Christelle, if someone is really connecting with you, if they want to learn more, they want to learn about getting on podcasts or just get to know you, where can they find you online?
Right. Okay. What I can invite them to do to really stay connected and have, you know, great information about podcast guesting and tips and strategies, I invite them to join my school community that I just started, Voices of Influence. So in that community, it's free to join. And in that community, you have great resources. I will have every time I want to share something, I go there first. I really feel like they are my people. They are the people that I want to give first to, because if they chose to join the community, that means they trusted me to guide them through the process of really standing out, sharing their voice, sharing their message, and really making a difference, influencing people to be happier, to live happier. So if you want to learn more about podcast guesting, how to get on podcasts, and really how to stand out when you go on podcast, I invite you to join the school community Voices of Influence. The link's going to be in the description. Other than that, I'm on social media with the same name, Christelle Biiga.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me on Taking Back Monday. This was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me, Alyssa.
Thanks for joining us on Taking Back Monday, where we say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to meaningful and fulfilling work. If you enjoyed today's episode, let's connect on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found value here, share the podcast with your network. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It helps us inspire more leaders to join the movement. Until next time, let's take back Monday.